All right, so now this is part three. Skip Bayless is in the midst of his, you know, his education for Shannon and Rob Parker. He's going to edify them on how the owners, the oligarchy of the NFL, think about so-called blacks. So let's see what he has to say.
So this is what I do know that maybe you guys don't have the best feel for. My whole career, I've covered these guys who run these teams in the National Football League, these owners, these GMs, old school white guys. Yes. And about half of them have called me a communist, like I'm the odd man out, seriously, because they don't like me.
In other words, when they call him a communist, the reason why they're calling him that is because they understand, as I've been telling you brothers now for a very long time, that a lot of these so-called rabble-rousers, a lot of these so-called civil rights engineers, they have their base in communism, all right? They're the pawns of the banking elite. Their job is to get the so-called disenfranchised masses, the proletariats, to succumb to the equality doctrine, all right? I want to be equal to you, as opposed to wanting to be a private citizen, a private entity all your own. When you operate in the private sector, that means that you are operating as a flesh and blood human being. They don't want that. They want you to become a part of the masses. They want you to become a part of the collective. All right, that's how they can get you to be a proletariat. Let's everybody all be in the corporation and all, be just a cog in the machine. All right. Like I said, Colin Kaepernick, you guys think that he's so-called pro-black. Believe me, he's just an anarchist. And the reason why the owners call Skip that is because Skip is another one. He's just a low-level anarchist. All right. He just wants everybody to be, but that's out of his white guilt. And, a lot of this is for show, for television anyway. Believe me, Skip is a 60-plus-year-old man from Oklahoma. He's used the N-word before. He probably used it this morning.
But I do know him because I've spent a whole lot of time around these guys.
Allegedly.
Since I started covering the NFL back in the 1970s. And I think Michael Vick had some point yesterday because it's again, you're right about what you're saying, but you don't run the football team.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Once again, and this is something that I try to accentuate to brothers. There's a ruling class mentality and then there's a slave class mentality. And a lot of these so-called pro-black, they have a slave mentality. All right. They're always talking about how they want the white man to view them and, how they want the white man to treat them. And they want to sit down and have a conversation. That's how slaves think. Skip got right to the point. You can talk all the shit that you want to talk. At the end of the day, you don't run a team. Whoever runs the team determines the environment, the atmosphere, the culture of the team.
Yeah, right? You're very right about what you're saying, but you don't run an NFL team. You're not a GM or an owner, right? But they're going to look at Colin and they're going to wonder, where's his commitment? And we had Chris Carter sit right here and say, he just hasn't played well enough. Because let's just say, if Colin Kaepernick had taken the 49ers last year to the NFC Championship game, he could have a gigantic afro and nobody would care because they would line up to sign him because all they care about is winning the next year's championship.
Exactly. That's why I stated Kaepernick he's more trouble than he's worth. All right. He doesn't play well enough for all the sideshow shit that he's bringing to the table. Bottom line. All right. Pro-blacks can get mad at that all you want. And let me say this. If a lot of you pro-blacks are so pro-Kaepernick, grow your afros out, quit your job, and fly out to wherever he's located and follow him and lead the revolution. We all know ain't none of you going to do that. Y'all going to log on to Twitter and call everybody a coon and the this and the that because they don't co-sign with his fake pro-black bullshit. Right. Holding a fist up in the air and blowing out his hair.
And if Colin Kaepernick can help them win the next year, they're going to sign him. But right now, he's been shaky at best over the last 2 years, even though I've made a strong case that last year, what have I told you, there were 4 or 5 games that he played that were big-time, top-shelf games in the National Football League. But the NFL is not seeing that right now. They're seeing a crusader for a cause who still seems more interested to them in crusading for his cause than in committing to be the CEO of an NFL team, which is the quarterback position.
Yeah, because he's being puppeted. He's being manipulated. As I've stated, I believe he's an asset. I believe that his handler is that chick Ness Nitty. I believe that she has a very nefarious background, a very murky background. that will eventually will come to the forefront. I mean, she just came out of nowhere. All of a sudden, she's so super relevant. Like, this broad started out at damn MTV Girl Code, talking shit about how much of a hoe she was. Now, all of a sudden, she's trying to lead cultural movements behind the scenes with this guy. She got this other dude, the former defensive end for the San Francisco 49ers. I think what's his name? Alden Smith. Got him spazzing out of his fucking mind. Right? All over this chick.
To be as committed as Tom Brady is, who lives it 24/7 year round. They're not sure about Collins' commitment to being the best quarterback he can be, because this crusade, this cause has been so incredibly important to him, and he's had so much impact. So just image is everything to these guys and to the people who fund them through their sponsorships. The sponsors, the old school white guys are looking at Collins saying, "What is he now? Where is his interest? You know what?" And trust me, the big afro doesn't speak well to them. Let's just be real about it.
Thank you, Skip. Thank you, Skip. Be real. Thank you. And now let's watch. Let's see how the pro-black dudes handle it.
You trust me on it.
Okay, but here's the thing, though, Skip. You said the commitment. So is his hair being long?
No, it's the image of it. It's just like, where are you? Where's your head right now? What do you want more? Do you want to continue to crusade for a cause that many of these guys might say, okay, I'm with you on that?
Yeah, but he didn't lead the crusade because of his hair.
No, it's
he
not.
led the crusade
it's
because
it's the image. It's just
Okay.
it's the way they think. It's the way sponsors think.
Okay.
You know it, and I know it.
I do, but you said that if he had taken a team to the NFC Championship game,
Yeah.
they would line up.
They would.
When has Josh McCown ever taken a team to a playoff?
Yeah.
Oh,
You
Brian
can
Hoyer.
go through the list.
I told you all those guys. I can list more.
What-
I might go 10 deep
What
and
about Ryan
say,
Fitzpatrick Beard? Now, we see white guys in hockey and baseball and football, they'll let their hair grow, say we're not cutting our hair until the season's over or to a
Nobody
championship.
has an
And
issue
nobody
with it.
has an issue with it.
I'm starting to think that maybe Shannon, and I've said this before, I don't know if these guys, well, I can't even say that it's because of Shannon taking too many hits to the head, because Rob Parker's, he's reiterating the same asinine attempt at a retort. I don't know, maybe Skip is going to get to it down the line, but it's very clear, as I've already stated, the issue is not Colin Kaepernick's hair in and of itself. The issue is that his hair is clearly correlated to his ideological beliefs. All of these other guys are growing their hair not because of a correlation to an ideological belief that is contrary to the market that you're trying to court. When you're trying to court a mostly conservative Caucasian market, you can't have a guy running around with a big afro who started to grow the afro as he embraced an ideology that is esteemed to be anti-American. All right? Those are just the facts of the matter. You cannot compare somebody who just has a long beard or a big beard and long hair to Colin Kaepernick. All right? Everybody knows that there is a correlation between Kaepernick growing his hair out and his beliefs. His beliefs are esteemed to be anti-American, right? Allegedly, quote unquote. Now, the NFL has always partnered up with a quote unquote patriotic stance. They affiliate with the military, right? Most of their constituency are made up of middle-aged or older white males. Many of them are either quote unquote patriotic or have served in the military or law enforcement, etc. I mean, I don't understand what the confusion is here.
With it, Skip.
but Shannon, what does the big afro, what message does that send to old school white guys?
What? Fight the power, black power?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
It's from the 60s.
Where is?
Yeah, and that's what most of them think, like the 60s.
They do. They do. You are exactly right.
And what you gonna do about it, Shannon?
I would say this, Shannon, and you tell me, being a Hall of Famer guy playing the league, where is the NFL black GM or somebody out there, NFL branch Ricky? Where's that?
I don't
guy?
know. That's a very good question.
No, that's a lame question. Branch Rickey was a middleman. All right. They had certain plants throughout professional sports in the mid 40s. Like I said, Jackie Robinson was set up by the Rockefellers. All right. That's why after he retired, Nelson Rockefeller took him under his wing, helped him start his own bank in Harlem, etc. Jackie Robinson tried to parlay his association with the Rockefellers into an influential relationship, he hoped, with Richard Nixon. But Richard Nixon told him to kick rocks. All right? That's what that was about. Branch Rickey was a plant. During the 1930s and early 40s, you had a lot of socialist and communist movements that were trying to promote blacks getting into professional sports. All right? They were trying to use the blacks to bring socialism into the common American culture. All right? They were trying to hopefully topple capitalism by toppling the financial system, which they did eventually in 1933. First in 1913 with the National Banking Act, which precipitated the creation of the Federal Reserve. And then in 1933, you had the gold clause, where they made all the Americans turn in their gold. All right? That's where America has had its financial downturn since then, its major and irrevocable financial downturn. After that, you had a lot of socialist and communist groups that were trying to infiltrate America and socially engineer society by having blacks put into professional sports. All right? Once again, and these socialist communist groups were led by Caucasian Jews. This is why oftentimes you'll find a lot of so-called militant black men and women ended up marrying Caucasian Jews. Where did they meet them? They met them at a lot of these communist meetings. All right? That's what it's really about.
That's
a
the
good
guy.
question.
I'm waiting for a black GM in that league, and I know there's not few. Jerry Reese with the Giants,
Ozzie.
right? Ozzie Newsome.
Rick Smith in Houston.
Okay, where's one of those guys to step
up and say, I'm going to do
and
this.
say, I'm signing Colin Kaepernick, and I'm going to give him an opportunity. And you know what? This is where we always get into it, because
How the hell is a black GM going to do that if the owner is already on record as saying, I do not want Kaepernick? You don't think that these owners have already told their GMs, look, you can get who you want, but don't come to my table with Kaepernick? You think that they're just sitting back waiting for a GM to figure out on his own whether or not he wants to sign Kaepernick? The fuck out of here, man.
people always want to cover their own behind. They don't want to step out there. Branch Rickey, there were teams that said, we're not going to play if the Dodgers sign Jackie Robinson. They threatened them. We will not play in that game.
Yeah, and they didn't care because Branch Rickey already knew that he had serious backing in very high places. They already knew Jackie Robinson's job was just to play his position, no pun intended. Play your position, stick through it. We're going to socially engineer society using you, known as the Hegelian dialectic. They already knew the result, they already knew the how they wanted everything to turn out, and they knew the methodology that they were going to use to get there. So they already had the problem, they had the result. All they needed to do was to make it operational. And they got Jackie Robinson and they made it happen. They didn't care how much upheaval it caused. They wanted to cause upheaval, right? Ab ordo chaos, right? Order out of chaos. That's what their credo is. All right?
No,
and Branch Rickey still did it anyway. And what happened? It changed this country.
It did.
And the idea that nobody, even the players in your league, which bother me so much, because everybody's just out for themselves. People aren't willing to stand up for what's right. Colin Kaepernick deserves to have a job in the National Football League.
No doubt.
And anybody who doesn't think so is not of the right mind.
You see how the so-called black liberals think? If somebody disagrees with them, it's because you're not of the right mind. It's the same thing that I noted with Michael Smith and Jamel Hill. All right? Those are the type of pretexts that they try to set up. If you don't agree with their emotional bullshit and their total lack of understanding of real history, then there's something wrong with you, not them. Even though they're constantly trying to beg the white man to accept them.
It's not right. It's not fair. It has nothing to do with his hair. It has nothing to do with that protest. Skip, you just said it. It bothers me that other guys get an opportunity and this guy who's done nothing wrong does not get an opportunity.
I'm going to take it a step further. I'm a guy that I don't believe that you deserve anything. You get what you earn. If Josh McCown earned the right to play in this league, if Mike Glennon,
you don't even need to do it. He's better than all of you. You can throw them all together and he's better. He went to a Super Bowl and to an NFC Championship
game. Do you remember what Ron Jaworski said when his career started? He could be the greatest quarterback ever. We went from that to no job.
Yeah, well, you said the same thing about RG3. There's plenty of flops that have come through the NFL. Look, these guys, they're so emotional, acting like bitches. The bottom line is this. Kaepernick, when you go out there and you take a stand in any type of stand, you can't be sitting back saying, I want to take a stand, but make it convenient. I still want to be able to work in the NFL. I still expect to get a job. Of course, there's going to be some blowback. All right. In reality, if these guys were as pro-black as they claim to be, they would say, let's start our own NFL. Fuck this. All right. The NFL is ruled by a bunch of Caucasian plutocrats, oligarchs. To hell with them. Let's start our own. We can broadcast it on our own network. To hell with them. But you know why they're not going to do that? Because they don't think that they can exist without the Caucasian man and the structure that he has created. All right, and they're trying to cover for it with this fake black nationalism.
So now, for Michael Vick, and see, this is what happens. When a black person says something that's stereotypical or that's negative about the black community, you get this segment of the white population that says, see, they're saying this about their own. Skip, that's how they think. Skip, all you need is one.
That's who thinks. You mean like your girlfriend, Shannon? Your white girlfriend? I don't understand. All these internet revolutionary blacks, they're trying to champion Shannon. And like I said, I like Shannon, even though Shannon goes off the rails when it comes to certain topics. Shannon's woman is a Caucasian. Is he a sellout? That's what I have to ask a lot of the internet revolutionaries. Is Shannon Sharpe a sellout? Help me out with that one.
All you need is one. And Skip, I was in Atlanta when Michael Vick was at his height, and he was revered. But I knew off the field what he was doing. If Michael Vick had not gone to prison, he would have still been doing interviews with that cornrows and that do-rag. You had to change your image. There's a difference between being a convicted felon and being a guy that kneeled in protest. The flag, they talk about the flag and what it represents. The flag gave Colin Kaepernick that right.
Okay, but I'm trying to explain to you, you don't own an NFL team. You don't run one. If you did, Colin would be just fine, right? Because you'd give him a shot. Because
what Skip is basically saying is, nigga, stop bitching and get your own team. That's basically what he's saying. It's very simple. But Shannon doesn't get it because, once again, he doesn't have a ruling class mentality. Right? He has a slave mentality. He wants to beg the Caucasian man for a chance. All right? All this shit is a smokescreen.
Because he's earned a shot. But the guys who run these teams don't see it that way.
No.
Okay?
They at the end of the day, Skip, yeah, they want to win, but they see black and white just like you and I see.
They do.
And they see their fan base and how their fan base is. But to compare what he did to what Michael Vick and some of these guys that abuse women and some of these guys that got DUI, to compare him, Michael Vick compared. He just said, basically, he said that what Colin Kaepernick
needs
said.
to rehabilitate
What did Jerry Richardson ask Cam Newton before he drafted him?
Don't get any tattoos.
Do you have any? He wanted to know, do you have any tattoos? It goes to that depth. Is Jerry Richardson not the classic? And he did play in the league.
Right, but
he's the classic old school white owner, right?
Yep.
Southern white owner. There you go.
Yes. Come on, man. The point being is this: they own the team. They have the right to stipulate what they want to stipulate. And it's not rocket science.
When Michael says something like this, it just reinforces the stereotype. You're supposed to look a certain way, or you're not professional. It's just his natural hair, and that's a whole nother discussion.
That's a whole nother.
But that gets justified when you say something like that.
No, it doesn't get justified. It's just him dealing in the real world. All right, the same way that they tell you, we want you to show some cleavage when you do the show, when you moderate, because that's what you're there for. You're there to be eye candy. Everybody has a role. The same way that these two Negroes on the left, they have to come in three-piece suits. Why is that? Because there's a certain way that they have to dress when they're being professional. All right? That's part of working for someone else. They get to stipulate the rules. It is what it is. I don't know why people are trying to act like that's such an alien concept. It is not. All right? Colin Kaepernick decided that he was going to step outside of the bounds. No pun intended. He was going to step outside of the bounds of the normal and conventional conduct of an NFL player. Everybody knows that the NFL is normally associated or affiliated with conservatism. All right, for him to do what he did, and he decided that he was going to alienate himself from the powers that be. Of course, he must re-ingratiate himself. right? There's nothing strange about this at all. All right. Only thing strange is, once again, so-called pro-blacks trying to beg the so-called white man to soften up so that they can be accepted, and that's the bottom line of it. All right, so now this is going to be the last segment on this topic. It's going to be the show Speak for Yourself with the liberal blacks' favorite target, the overweight lover in the house, Jason Whitlock. He's going to speak on the Michael Vick, Colin Kaepernick situation. Let's see what this roundtable has to say.
Welcome to the show. I'm Jason Whitlock. Colin Coward is still out on vacation. So I'm joined today by Mark Schlereth, Eric Davis, and Jim Jackson. Let's start with Michael Vick, who joined us yesterday and had some advice for Colin Kaepernick that damn near broke the internet.
First thing we got to get Colin to do is cut his hair. You know, I mean, listen, I'm not up here to try to be politically correct, but, you know, even if he puts cornrows in it, I don't think he should represent himself, you know, in that way in terms of, you know, just the hairstyle. Just go clean cut. You know, why not? You know, you're already dealing with a lot of controversy surrounding this issue.
After getting crushed on social media, Vick tried to walk back his comments this morning, tweeting, quote, Colin Kaepernick's hair has nothing to do with him not being on an NFL roster right now. Let's be clear here. I wish only the best for Colin. I stand by what I've said about him being signed at some point this season to help an NFL club. I think he is a great kid who has a bright future, and I'm looking forward to seeing him on the field again. Trust and believe what I said was not in malice. I don't have an issue with Michael Vick said at all.
Neither do I. The only thing is that Michael Vick is a businessman right now. He has a lot of speaking engagements. I'm sure that most of his speaking engagements involve around the black community, so-called black community. So he has to be very careful with what he says, because a lot of so-called blacks are liberal. A lot of them are very, very emotional. A lot of them are irrational, unfortunately, because of how our people have been trained to think or not think. So he has to be careful before he messes up his own money, right? You cannot be too honest with so-called black people if you're concerned about getting paid from them, because they are, you know, they can be very vindictive because of their over emotionality and their hatred for reality.
I don't think he needed to issue a clarification. I think if anybody watched his comments in context, he was very clear. He thinks Colin Kaepernick's not in the league because his play the past 2 years is not that good. He thinks that Colin Kaepernick should exhaust every avenue to clean up his image. And I have no problem with that. That's the advice my father gave me. That's advice my big brother would give me. He didn't say anything that controversial.
It's not a question of it being controversial. What he said was his truth. That's what worked for him. So Mike Vick was in a situation where he had to change his image to get himself in the league. That's what he felt and what he believes that got him back in the league. So that's what he's telling Colin Kaepernick to do. And like I said yesterday, we let Mike talk, but like I said yesterday, that's not the reason why he's not in the league. Changing his haircut, cutting his hair. There are guys on every NFL roster that have cornrows, that have afros,
that have worldwide controversies that have driven the league the entire offseason.
It's not about his look, his reasoning for not being in the league.
Michael Vick very clear on that. He said it's about his play.
It's not about his play. It's not simply about his play.
But again, that's Mike Vick's opinion. I get that.
Well, no, right now I'm giving you my opinion. It's not about his play.
Issue with what Vick said, in my opinion.
Well, I wish Mike would have stayed with it in the fact that he's saying that for me in my career, I had to change my outlook and how people looked at me and saw me. Now, with Colin, you talked about the play aspect of it too. When Michael went away, he could still play. So it was still a glimmer of hope with Mike coming back that he would be the old Mike. With Colin, you got a chance to see him on the field and not producing. So how does that look in regards to an organization saying we want to bring him back? And I'm going to say something about the look, the cornrows, and how people are perceived.
No, the afro.
The cornrows is fine, though. But I'm talking about perception.
Yep.
With the cornrows is fine. But when Allen Iverson came in the league, he had a swag about him. It was a little bit different. With Kawhi Leonard, who brings it in, you don't even equate the two the same. Because they're two different personalities.
Exactly. And beyond that, let me say this about the Allen Iverson thing. Allen Iverson has become a prisoner of his image. All right? Just like Colin Kaepernick, Allen Iverson has become a prisoner of his image. Right now, even if Allen wanted to, he couldn't clean up his image. He can't even mature. He's stuck like Peter Pan. He's stuck at a certain age, a certain maturity level, because he has cultivated a following of cats from a certain strata in the hood that look at him as an inspiration. Oh, he's a street nigga. Look, he kept it, quote unquote, kept it real. He still stays with with the baggy jeans and the such and such and the do-rag. Now Allen, even if Allen wanted to mature his look as a man 40 years old, if he wanted to change his attire, he can't, because now he's going to alienate his his constituency. All right, so that's why you got to be very careful when you get too caught up in an image.
You see what I'm saying? In regards to cleaning up your act, so to speak, and how you view people. So Colin has a lot more to do with his play than anything else.
I couldn't care less what his hair looks like. The bottom line is the tape tells me that he's going to struggle from the pocket. That's what the tape tells me. What I'd love to see, if we're on the path of saying you want to clean up your image, I would love to see him articulate his position.
That's my point. Once again, when is this guy going to, supposedly he's so pro-rights and he's so pro-black people. How come he keeps getting called out by all of these talk shows? He never goes on and lays out point by point what his overall end game is, what his stratagem is. He only responds with memes and fake propaganda, fake literature like the Willie Lynch syndrome and memes like the Stockholm syndrome. Like it's like he's reading from a manual on how to be pro-black. All right, like I said, look, I've already kept it plain and simple. I believe he's an asset. I believe he was raised in an MK Ultra background, an adopted kid. Nobody knows where the hell he really came from, allegedly. Raised by 2 white parents. Now all of a sudden he's going to teach black people how to be black, right? Quote unquote. To me, the whole thing is a joke. But, it is what it is. Internet revolutionaries are desperate for leaders because most of them only want to sit behind a keyboard. They don't have any plans, so they live vicariously through athletes and other famous so-called blacks. So they need somebody like him to live through.
Because he is a smart kid. He's a well-spoken kid. I'd love to see him come out and say, hey, man, this is where I stand. Because I will tell you this. A couple of years ago, Michael Jordan donated $2 million to social injustice causes. You know what that was? It was a 24-second reader in the 24-hour news cycle. That's what it was. Blip, boy, isn't that nice? Michael Jordan donated this money. Let's move on. And I'm not bashing Michael Jordan, because that's a great thing that he did. And Colin Kaepernick has donated a boatload of money. But I just think that if he came out and articulated his position, it would help him with some of the franchises that are afraid of, this is not a black-white issue, it's a black-red issue. Afraid of losing money.
I want to get you back on the square though, a little bit. You're a dad. You have a son who's an athlete. You give your kids no advice about appearance and how you
all the
present
time.
yourself?
I tell my kid, clean it up, man. All the time, like cut your hair, clean up your beard.
Hold on. One more thing, Eric. One more thing. We all keep coming from this place that Mike Vick allegedly, and there's no proof of it, that he was saying, Colin, this is what I had to do, so therefore you do it. You can remove that because he didn't say that.
Thank you, man. Like I said, Whitlock is Reggie Jackson. He either hits home runs or he strikes out. Once again, he picked up on it, but he thinks for himself. I don't always agree with him, and when you're a man, people are not always supposed to agree with you because you have your own thoughts. But he picks up on things that a lot of other so-called blacks, especially internet revolutionaries, don't pick up on, because a lot of you internet revolutionary cats, y'all nothing but drones. All right, y'all are in the beehive. You just do what you're commanded to do by the queen bee. That's why y'all call the black woman God, because y'all not really men. You just a drone. All right. The queen bee sent your ass out to bring back some nectar, and that's about it.
What he said was he was looking at the dude with this big afro, and it's like, you know what? He needs to start with his hair and cut his hair. Present yourself better.
I sat right next to him when he said this was advice that was given to me. So he's giving advice that was given to him.
That was in the follow-up question.
But he's saying this is what works through me. That's what I get. That's what worked. But I will firmly stand on the fact that his haircut has nothing to do with it. It's a combination of all the things that are happening.
Sure.
Part of it is his play, but we cannot put it on his play. And what everyone always wants to go to, and I'm going to say this quickly, everyone always wants to go through, he has to play in a certain system. okay? And there are only a few systems he can play in. Well, there are a whole lot of quarterbacks that have proven that they can't play in any system, and they still have jobs. So it's more to it than just his haircut.
And listen,
or
if
his
you
play.
take on the burden that he took on, there's some extra burdens that's going to be placed on you.
Exactly.
So Mark Sanchez is not out the face of a polarizing issue, and whether we like it or not, it's a polarizing issue. Mark Sanchez didn't wear socks with pigs on them, so the rules are different.
Exactly.
You can go to a fast food restaurant and no one's going to bat an eye or think, oh my God. If I go, people are like, man, you overweight. That's a problem. You need to stop. Blah. The rules are different for Colin Kaepernick. He won't come out and say, I want to be a starter, or I'll accept being a backup. I'll accept the NFL minimum. We don't know. His rules are different than Blake Bortles and Ryan Fitzpatrick and everybody else because of the decisions he made. My decisions about what I eat after this show are different because of the decisions I made. So we need to quit analogizing him to every other quarterback and every other position and every other player that he put himself in a different spot.
Okay.
And Michael Vick is just sitting there like most people with common sense. A bunch of people I know, a bunch of black people who don't care nothing about white people have given me similar advice. Hey, man, clean up your image.
Exactly. This is what I said from the very start. All right. Every last one of you brothers, your first job, your mom or your dad told you, look, make sure that you're neat. Make sure your clothes are ironed. Make sure your haircut is on point. Why? Because you're trying to make an impression. That's all Michael Vick was saying. All this cone shit, these keyboard fucking revolutionaries, it's sickening, man.
So my father never liked me in the
So cutting his hair, so if he comes in and he's clean cut in a suit, that's going to get him a job?
It doesn't guarantee him a job. That's not what Mike Vick said.
But you know what though? I do believe for the corporate structure who looks at Colin, they're going to look at him and say, is he turning the corner somewhat attitude-wise? Is it going to ensure the job? Is it going? This is what I'm saying. Hold up, but is it going to ensure? It may take one organization that sees Colin comes in. I'm not saying when my son was younger, I told him, I said, listen, you got an issue here. Consequences. Whatever you choose to do, you got to deal with it. And that's what I'm saying.
We're already into this law.
And that's fine, because, I'm about done with this issue, too. The point being, brothers, is, it's not really that difficult to figure out. And like Whitlock put so well, all the choices that you make, you're going to have to deal with the consequences. And there are different consequences based on your ideologies. You can't be judged by other quarterbacks or by other people with long hair who haven't made the same decisions that you've made. All right. And like I've said, the reason why Kaepernick is not coming out, stating his stances and clarifying his views is because I believe he's being subsidized behind the scenes by a lot of anarchist / liberal groups. All right. But look, that's neither here nor there, man. All right, brothers. Peace.